ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar my dear friend, this is video number 15 on Panchadasi of Swami Vidyarnaya. This video starts with part 6 of chapter 9 and topic is fruit of meditation. The fruit of the meditation on the attributeless is thus declared in the Tapaniya Upanishad. That man who desires Upasaka becomes desireless. He desires the self and gets his desires fulfilled. His vital airs do not depart, they get dissolved here in his own body. Being Brahma, he attains Brahma. He becomes of the nature of self, luminous reality, intelligence, and bliss, without body, sense, organs, vital ears, and mind, because it is said that by the capacity of meditation, knowledge is generated. There is no conflict with the text which declares no other path is known. The Tapanya clearly sets forth that release is the final fruit of meditation on the attributeless Brahma, while the Prashna Upanishad maintains that the attainment of Brahmaloka is the fruit of Sagnopashna. The Prashna Upanishad says that he who meditates by the three matras is led to Brahmaloka, where it becomes possible for him to behold the Supreme Purusha. In the Sutra 4, chapter 3, stanza number 15, Bhadrayana maintains that all those who meditate on the affected Brahma, except those who take their stand on symbols, are led to the world of Brahma on the principle of Tatkartu, that in whatever form they meditate on him, that they become themselves. Those who do not take their stand on symbols he leads. Thus Bhadrayana opines there being no fault in the twofold relation resulting from this opinion, and the meditation on that is Brahma, is the reason of this twofold relation. Those upasakas who meditate on the attributeless Brahma and yet are not rid of desires reach the world of Brahma, and there they acquire the knowledge of the true and are released at the end of world aeon. Meditation on the Parnava is mostly of the Nirguna type, but in some places there is the mention of the meditation on the Parnava of the Saguna type. Omkara is described by says Piplada to be of two forms, higher and lower. Omkara in its higher aspect signifies the Supreme Brahma, and in its lower aspect it stands for the affected Brahma. In the Katha Upanishad, Yama makes a similar distinction to Nachiketas between the higher Brahma and the lower Brahma. Meditation on the higher Brahma is superior to the other kind of meditation. He who meditates on the Parnava, that signifies the supreme attributeless Brahma, attains Brahma intuition either in this life or at the end of his life or in the world of Brahma. That those who are not capable of achieving true knowledge through inquiry are eligible for meditation on the attributeless Brahma is declared in the Atma Gita. He who is incapable of intuiting Brahma, let him meditate as one free from doubts. In good time he will be firmly established in experience and will attain without fail the fruit of release. Just as there is no other means to obtain a treasure hidden in the heart of Mother Earth except digging, there is no other method except meditation on one's own self to gain the final goal. The Atma Gita explains the analogy thus: uprooting the body, which is comparable to a huge rock, and digging the field of the mind by means of intellect. The spade, the inner treasure, the self, is to be gained. There are other passages which declare that even though there be no experience of Brahma, a man may think that he is Brahma and constantly ruminate on this thought until it matures into a fact. The seen fruit of meditation is that day by day the Upasaka discards the cognition of things which are other than the self, and this must be a sufficient reason why the method of meditation is of supreme value to those who are incapable of inquiry. Destroying the conceit in the body through meditation and beholding the non-dual self, the mortal Upasaka becomes immortal and attains Brahma even here in this world. Chapter 10. Elucidation in the light of stage analogy. Natka Dipa Prakarna. In the previous chapter, a distinction was drawn between the way of knowledge and the way of meditation. It was stated that for those who are incapable of pursuing the path of inquiry, the various meditations are prescribed in the sacred text. Of all the meditations, the contemplation of the attributeless Brahma was characterized as the highest. It, no doubt, is based on a delusion, but nevertheless, it is a delusion which is fruitful. It is a guess which happens to be true. Dhyana or meditation is useful insofar as it removes the obstacles that clog the way to Brahma intuition. Hence, it is an auxiliary to Brahman knowledge. Part 1 of Chapter 10. Study, Reflection and Meditation. The Advaitins differ with regard to the fixing of the relative values of study, reflection and meditation. The Vidyarnaya school maintains that all the three are not the direct means to Brahma knowledge. The ascertainment of the purport of the Vedantas through reasoning is hearing, Sarvana, reflecting on the non-dual Brahma through reasoning, which establish non-difference and condemn difference is Manana, and the constancy of the mental flow of the form of Brahma without being clouded by the mode of the form of the not-self is meditation, Nidhi Dhyasana. These three are aids to remove the notions that the non-dual Brahma is impossible and that the contrary of that is true. Doubts and delusions are destroyed by this triple means, but the direct means to knowledge are the Vedanta text which come into contact with the sense of hearing. The Avantarvakya, which reveal either the nature of the Supreme Self or that of the Jiva, give us mediate knowledge. The Mahavakyas or major texts which assert the identity of the Supreme Intelligence and the Jiva give us immediate intuitive knowledge. The contention that verbal testimony can yield only meditate knowledge is met in this manner. The knowledge through verbal testimony of an object which is remote is always mediate, but of an object which is proximate, verbal testimony gives both mediate and immediate knowledge. This point may be explained by citing the episode of the 10th man. Through the words of a trustworthy person, the 10th man at first learns immediately that the 10th man is not lost, and then he realizes that he is himself the 10th man. Brahma is not remote. It is identical with the Jiva, hence of it, immediate intuitive knowledge is possible through verbal testimony. For Vachaspati, founder of the Bhamati school, who follows the tradition of Mandana, verbal testimony of itself is not the cause of immediate knowledge. Uninterrupted contemplation of the cognition which results from verbal testimony ultimately causes the final intuition. The process of Prasankhayana is indispensable for Brahma intuition. This view, which is urged by Vachaspati, differs from the Vivarna view. Unintermittent meditation and not mere hearing of the Vedantas take the prominent and primary place as the means to intuition. The tendency to place more and more importance on meditation reached its climax in Madhusudana Saraswati. His strong leaning to the path of devotion led Madhusudana to maintain that bhakti is as good as means as jnana for the realization of the attributeless Brahma. The view of the Panchadasi was clearly stated in the Dhyana-dipa. Sarvana is the principal means to release, while manana and meditation are auxiliaries thereto. The path of inquiry has priority over the way of meditation. Those who are not able to walk along the way of knowledge have to adopt the course of meditation. But meditation is not without its results. It also leads to the same goal even though the process may be slow and tortuous. Part 2 of Chapter 10, Analogy of Dramatic Stage. In the Natkadipa, the path of inquiry is set forth. Even in the earliest chapters, various methods of inquiry were explained. Through co-presence and co-absence, it was shown that the self is the witness of the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. Through a searching analysis of the elements and the elementals, it was demonstrated that Brahma is different from them and that the elements and their products are mere illusory superimpositions. In the present chapter, the familiar method of superimposition and subsequent removal, Adhyaropavada, is adopted in order to exhibit the true nature of the self. The process of superimposition is first set forth. Prior to creation, there was the non-dual Sat, one only without a second. Then itself became the world through its Maya and in the form of the Jiva entered the world. This is the story of the creation. Maya is at the root of the manifestation of the world. Inquiry leads to the destruction of Maya, and when Maya is thus dispelled, the true nature of the self is realized. What is called bondage is nothing but mistaking the non-dual self to be one among many reals, and release is freedom from this wrong notion. Non-discrimination is the cause of bondage. Inquiry is the way to its removal. The nature of the jiva must first be discriminated from the nature of the immutable witness. The agent who has the conceit of I is the jiva and his instrument is the mind. The mental modification of the form of I, which is turned inward, manifests the agent, and the modification of the form of this, which goes out, makes known the external world. Thus, the agent, through the channel of the mental mode, perceives, acts, and enjoys. The agent, the act, and the objects are at the same time illumined by the witness intelligence, which is like a lamp set on a dramatic stage. The lamp gives light to the manager of the drama, to the actors, and to the audience without any distinctions. And it shines even if the theatre be emptied of all persons. Similarly, the witness manifests equity, the intellect and the objects, and continues to shine even when they are non-existent. It cannot be said that the intellect is enough to illumine the objects, for it shines by borrowed light. It is the self-luminous, immutable intelligence that is the giver of all light. The sense of equity may be compared to the proprietor of the drama, the object to the audience, and the intellect to the danseur, danseurs, and the various sense organs are auxiliaries or accompaniments which aid the actors. All these are without any distinction illumined by the witness, just as the lamp on the dramatic stage illumines without moving and without being affected by the movements of the actors and the audience. Even so, the witness, which is permanent and immutable, manifests all things both within and without. The distinction between inner and outer, which is dependent on the body, has no reference to the witness. Those objects which are external to the body are called the outer, and those that are within the inner, the impermanence and the vacillation natural to the intellect, are superimposed on the witness intelligence. The witness neither goes in nor goes out. It appears as if it acts on account of its association with the intellect. It knows no inner and no outer, which are distinctions created by the intellect. Even to say that the self is omnipresent and all-pervasive is to superimpose on it the category of space. In itself, the witness is beyond the reach of speech and mind. If, then, it be asked how it can be known, we reply, the self is not an object of apprehension. When all cognitions get dissolved, it alone remains because it is self-luminous. It is not dependent on means of valid knowledge. The central idea which is expressed in the Nataka Deepa is that the witness is the true self and that the Jivahood is an imposed form. The world is like a stage illumined by the witness intelligence. When through inquiry all superimpositions are removed, the self is recognized to be the only reality. All that which is Chapter 11, Yoga Bliss, Yogananda Prakarna. The last 5 chapters of the Panchadasi are devoted to an exposition of the bliss aspect of Brahma. The essential nature of Brahma is defined in scripture as reality, intelligence, bliss. The first 5 chapters of the Panchadasi made out that Brahma is the absolute reality, whereon the world of animate and inanimate object is superimposed. The second 5 chapters characterized Brahma as pure intelligence, which is the witness consciousness of this world drama, and it is the aim of the last 5 chapters to elucidate the third part of the definition, with the bliss nature of Brahma. So, part 1 of chapter 11, classification of bliss. Two different classifications of bliss are given in this chapter. Shloka 11 speaks of Brahma bliss, the happiness of knowledge, and the pleasure due to sense objects. The chapter 11, 12 and 13 expound the nature of Brahma bliss. The 14th chapter explains what the happiness of knowledge is, and the final chapter is an exposition of pleasure born of sense objects. Shloka 87 of the present chapter substitutes the happiness due to the residual impressions of bliss for the happiness of knowledge. The justification for this change is that the happiness of knowledge is included in the pleasure generated by sense objects. The happiness of knowledge is like the happiness born of sense objects, a modification of the intellect. 14 stanza 2. Hence the classification of bliss into Brahma bliss, the happiness which is the result of residual impressions of bliss and the pleasure due to sense objects, is shown to be valid and uncontradicted by the earlier classification found in this chapter. In truth, however, there is only one bliss, and that is Brahma. We delude ourselves by thinking that happiness rests in external objects in the world without, but the real center of happiness is the self. The self-luminous Brahma bliss is the generator of even the other two kinds of happiness. So I conclude this video here. Next video number 16 will start with part 2 of chapter 11. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar, my dear friends.